and putting the Canada-Colombia FTA, Free Trade Agreement, Bill C-23, as one of the challenges for Canada today. So when we were going, how to go about this, we decided that the biggest challenge that we have today is the defense of life over accumulation. And if we want to solve the problem, we have to go to the logic that is embedded within the economical system, that today has inverted the equation of life. What we have is that it is to have and not to be, because life itself has been commodified. How it has been commodified? By the control of two main factors. In economical terms, they call it land and labor. Today, in a globalized neoliberal economy, we have renamed it for resources and human capital. So, if you control those two main factors, you have what is called comparative advantage, which provide a fruitful opportunity for multinational corporations to maximize profit. And that's the cash. That's how they make us, all of us here, responsible. Because we justify displacement and the killing of people in the name of the economy. That's like what liberal economists have called foreign direct investment and development. A Colombian professor, Maria Teresa Uribe, she showed a correlation between where displacement is happening in Colombia and where mega projects are being carried out. And especially like in the modern trends of biofuels and mining, where Canadian corporations are a major player in Colombia and abroad. And the state is playing that role too. Like the neoliberal states now is regulating at the benefit of the private sector and not the public sector. So when we talk about the green challenge, what are the green challenge? Is we have two logics confronted and we have to make a decision. Where are we going? It is, I'm going to take this from the NASA people and indigenous people from Colombia, that they say it is to have or is to be. The to have, it is a death project where you support and you justify accumulation, and the to be, that is a life project, that is the one that every one of us here have to build in the community. So the death project is important to understand the FTA Canada-Colombia. They say the death project has three main components: terror, legislation, and propaganda. So when they have terror, we know, after 9/11, fascist way of thinking has been reproduced worldwide. And Colombia is no exception for that. So why? Because the support of paramilitaries to 65% of the Congress in Colombia. And it has been demonstrated, where 95% of those people, the Congress people in Colombia, have been related with paramilitary death squads. Is what Mancuso, one of the paramilitary bosses, called the triangle. And it's the relation between a state, paramilitarism, and multinational corporations. He said, I'm a living proof the paramilitarism in Colombia is an strategy of the state at the benefits of the multinational corporations. He was saying that they were providing logistic, intelligence, and economical support to get into lands that they were needed for multinational corporations to export. And once they were there, they were providing security for multinationals to have it, from mines and plantations right to the ports to be sold as a commodities in the international market. The case of the Chiquita Brand International was they were have to pay $25 million to the U.S. government and not to the victims of the paramilitarism in Colombia, because they were shown relations with paramilitaries in Colombia. The second scandal that they have was the DAS, the intelligence departments of Colombia, where they have been seeing that they were giving intelligence of students, teachers, opposition leaders. Later on, they were assassinated by the paramilitaries. And the third part is what they are calling false positives. The false positives is today, in the war on terror, where Colombia is the greatest recipient of military aid, they have to show that, that money is worth it. So what they were doing was, they were killing civilians and making them pass as terrorists. So the second part that is the part of the FTA is legislation. How they put it? Well, again, they privatize natural resources, water, mining, patents, right? And the FTA, what is it creates a constitutional a transnational constitution in favor of transnational capital. So like when they talk about like this, they say, for example, like property rights. What like they are trying to do is legalize a robbery of like a millenary knowledge of indigenous people. An example of this is patenting. When they are patenting like seeds, Colombia today, they have like 4 years of like jail for like indigenous farmers or Afro-Colombians who plant a patent seed. Then we have like the mining code. The mining code in Colombia was changed in 2001 with Canadian tax money support, like CIDA and like a Canadian think tank, CERI, Canadian Energy Research Institute, and a Colombian law firm allows like the change of the mining code in Colombia. What like Colombians have been calling the Canadianization of the mining law. What does it mean? In like simple terms, the flexibilization of the environment regulations, the diminish of labor protection, and in economical terms, that is what we are all about. So like royalties were moved like from 10%, like prior to 2001, it was 10% for like export over like 3 million tons and 5% for like below that. Today, they are 0.4% regardless of how much you export. So, like in 2007, when the Harper government, they were saying, like what we are doing in Colombia by signing an FTA with Colombia is like deepening democracy and creating development. We are questioning the same foundation that he's talking about. How can you like create development and democracy with a regime like this? When we know like royalties are important to finance public services, like schools and hospitals. So, and the third part, how this is like through propaganda. A propaganda machine. Yeah, like the media plays an important role, how we nurture our society from the TV to consumerism, right? But that's one side. But the other side is like how we create like the ideological framework to justify that. And in that sense, maybe the academia has an important role to play in this. Because the question that we have to ask ourselves is if we know that like this industrial civilization isn't sustainable, like new technology like biofuels that relies on non-renewable resources are by definition an oxymoron. They are like not existable, they are not sustainable. So like the question that we have to ask ourselves is why do we accept this? And if we go there, so how are we gonna go about? Either we say like, okay, we don't like that, like we don't know we don't like what we are seeing and we have to change it, or we have to accept it. So to wrap it up, like the FTA, what I'm going to say is today, by increasing relations with Colombia, what we are doing is engagement and legitimizing a murderous regime. And I'm going to quote the Standing Committee for International Trade from the Canadian government that say that they concluded that the FTA with Colombia should not proceed without further improvement in the human rights situation in Colombia, and without a comprehensive and independent human rights impact assessment. It also called for legislative provision on corporate social responsibility to address the implementation of universal human rights standards by Canadian entities investing in Colombia. The other side of this is like the Canadian government ended negotiation before the committee have given the report. And today, Colombia continues to be one of the most dangerous places for human traders in the world. If we know that by experience, that system is unsustainable in means of the environment, of the economy, political inclusion, so we all here have to create a new one for our survival. How this has to be done is with love. And by doing this, we have to rethink the concept of solidarity. Think of solidarity not as a compassion, but as a common struggle for the common good. It is here and it is now. We have to create social conscience. But that social conscience is not only like, okay, create the social conscience, but what to do with the social conscience. And it's like, that social conscience has to become reality if we want to give our future generations a sustainable life. Thank you very much.